The story begins with Orhan cutting through monsters in a dungeon like it's just routine training. After defeating several creatures, he confidently realizes his swordsmanship is still sharp. When a group of goblins appears, he switches to support magic, buffing his strength and explaining that support spells enhance attack power, defense, and even weapon damage. With these boosts, he easily wipes out the enemies, though more monsters keep appearing, forcing him to keep fighting. However, support magic has one major drawback: it only lasts 3 minutes. So Orhan constantly has to recast his buffs while staying focused in battle. Normally, support mages don't fight on the front lines because balancing sword combat and precise spell timing is nearly impossible. But Orhan can do both at once, proving he's on a completely different level from ordinary adventurers. One day, Orhan is just minding his business at his desk when his party leader, Oliver, suddenly drops a bomb. Orhan is getting kicked out of the hero party. Oliver tries to soften it by saying he only ignored the skill gap because they were childhood friends, but now Orhan is just slowing everyone down. Meanwhile, the other 2 party members skip the kindness and go straight to roasting him, calling him useless dead weight. Ouch. Oliver admits Orhan's support magic helped them reach his rank and even conquer the huge southern dungeon before. But after seeing another party's support mage, Oliver realized something painful: Orhan is mid. And Orhan knows it's true. He only switched to support magic to help the team anyway. He always wanted to be a swordsman. Sadly, that doesn't change anything. Oliver already hired a better enchanter, so Orhan is officially out. Heartbroken and humiliated, Orhan leaves. To prove he isn't trash, he goes straight into the dungeon alone. He fights goblins pretty well using both his sword and support magic, buffing himself like a one-man party. It's tough but doable, and he believes if he keeps training, no one will ever call him worthless again. Just as he's registering at a teleport crystal, he overhears another party panicking. They abandoned one of their members after being ambushed by orcs. Hearing that hits Orhan hard. Being abandoned once was enough. He won't watch it happen to someone else. So he storms back in to save the girl they left behind. The girl, Sophia, is cornered and seconds away from death when a sudden wind blast pushes the orcs back. Orhan appears like an absolute hero, buffs himself mid-battle, enchants his sword, and slices through a whole army of orcs like it's a warm-up workout. Sophia is stunned. This guy isn't just strong, he's insanely cool while doing it. After saving her, Orhan quietly helps her out of the dungeon. But she refuses to let her mysterious savior just walk away. She introduces herself as Sophia Claudel, a noble girl from a powerful guild, and insists on thanking him properly. She drags him to her favorite restaurant, which turns out to belong to her guild, the famous Night Sky Silver Rabbits. The Silver Rabbits clan is insanely powerful, so Orhan is already wondering if hanging around Sophia might drag him into something way too complicated. Before he can think too much, Sophia suddenly spots her older sister sitting at a table. She happily goes over, while Selma casually explains she just came for dinner after a nearby meeting. Then Selma notices Sophia isn't alone, and freezes when she realizes the guy with her is Orhan. Turns out, they actually know each other. Sophia is shocked, but Orhan could never forget Selma. She's the legendary leader of the strongest S-rank party in the Silver Rabbits and the best support mage on the continent, the same person his own party compared him to before kicking him out. Selma, however, is not smiling. She gets right in Orhan's face, furious that he's out on a date with her 14-year-old sister at night. Orhan quickly explains it's not romantic at all, but he words it so badly that Selma thinks he's saying Sophia isn't even attractive. Now she's even angrier. Sophia finally blurts out that Orhan literally saved her life. Selma instantly switches from angry big sister mode to guilty and grateful, apologizes, and thanks him. They sit together, and for the first time, Orhan and Selma actually get to talk properly. He explains they met during the big raid last month, where he helped her as a support mage. Selma says he was incredibly helpful, exactly what she'd expect from someone in the hero party. That's when Orhan drops the bomb. He isn't part of that party anymore. Selma is stunned that anyone would throw away someone as useful as him. Then she immediately sees an opportunity and asks if he'd like a job. Orhan says he wants to travel solo for a while, so he can't join her clan. But Selma isn't asking that, she just wants him to help teach rookies on a 3-day training expedition to Floor 50. He'll be paid well, and she'd simply feel safer with him there since she knows firsthand how capable he really is. Orhan is touched by her trust in him, but the wounds from being labeled a weak support mage are still fresh. He doesn't want to chain himself to support magic again so soon. So, even though it hurts a bit, he politely turns her down. Selma is honestly shocked that Orhan turned her down. She didn't expect that at all. Orhan simply says he has his reasons, and Selma decides not to force him. But then Sophia jumps in, begging him to reconsider. She says she'd feel way safer if he came along on the expedition. Orhan still doesn't want to go back to being just the support guy, but seeing Sophia plead like that makes him soften a little. So he tells her he'll at least think about it. Selma is relieved he's willing to consider it, but Orhan makes one thing crystal clear. He'll only accept if he's allowed to fight with his sword. He refuses to be limited to enchantments anymore. Selma is stunned. She's never seen a support mage suddenly decide to be a swordsman, and honestly she doubts he'll be any good at it. Still, worst case, he'll probably snap back to being an enchanter if things get dangerous. She tells him if he decides to join, he should show up at Silver Rabbit HQ early in the morning. Then they all head home for the night. Before going back, Orhan stops by a weapon shop owned by an old man he's pretty close to. They sit down for tea, and the shopkeeper happily thanks Orhan because business has been booming thanks to his recommendations. But that's exactly why Orhan came. He explains he was kicked out of the heroes' party, so now no one will care about his recommendations anymore. He apologizes for not being able to help the shop like before, but the old man just laughs it off. He tells Orhan he has nothing to apologize for. Party or no party, Orhan is still the same good person, and he's already helped more than enough. To him, Orhan may not wear the hero title anymore, but he's still a hero at heart. So the old man encourages him to start living for himself and keep helping people in his own way. The next morning, Orhan visits Silver Rabbit HQ and meets President Vince Breyer. Vince is impressed by Orhan's reputation, but Orhan wants details before agreeing to the expedition. Selma explains that the mission will eventually reach the 51st floor, but they'll start with the 21st and progress slowly. She also mentions how foolish the hero party was to kick Orhan out. His support magic carried most battles, with insane casting speed and multiple original spells at once. Vince can't believe someone so capable was labeled useless, and Selma suspects the hero party simply took him for granted. There will be 10 rookie teams with just 5 escorts, including Orhan and Selma. Rookies are expected to handle fights themselves. Escorts step in only if things go wrong. Orhan questions why so few escorts are being sent, suspecting a secret objective, but drops it. Vince offers him generous pay, 2 gold up front, 10 more upon success. The next day, Orhan arrives early at the dungeon entrance. Sophia and Selma show up, and Sophia is visibly excited to see him, though Selma warns him to keep it appropriate. Orhan keeps his distance to avoid intimidating the rookies, so Sophia introduces him. He meets the other escorts, Anthem and Bernard, defenders and Kathy, healer, and notices the lack of a frontline attacker. Selma's gamble is clear. She wanted progress despite the risk. Orhan is assigned to escort Group 10, the most promising rookies. The group has 3 members: Logan, the ambitious enchanter; Caroline, a dodge-type defender who ignores armor; and Sophia, a capable caster. Logan and Caroline bicker, showing why Selma called this group special. At least Sophia is normal. Inside the dungeon, the rookies behave well. Caroline asks why someone from the hero party is with a rival clan. Orhan calmly replies he's no longer part of the party, refusing to explain further. On the way, wolves appear, but Orhan's traps take care of them, quietly illustrating why he was called useless. He does everything without showing off. Orhan observes the rookies fighting. Logan is skilled as an enchanter, but a poor leader. Caroline is fast but reckless. Sophia is solid with no major flaws. Day 1 ends successfully at the 21st floor. Selma asks Orhan's opinion. He agrees they have potential but poor teamwork. They part ways, planning to meet the next morning. That night, Orhan learns the hero party publicly announced his expulsion. He expected it, but wished it had waited until after the expedition, since the students admired him as a hero party member. Now their opinion of him may change, but there's nothing he can do but face it. On his way to the dungeon the next day, someone calls out to him it's Luna, a member of the hero party. She's always been kind to him and wasn't around when he was expelled. Orhan knows she would have defended him if she had been there. Luna asks him to come back, saying the party needs him. He's shocked and asks if the others agree. She admits she hasn't told them, yet this is her own decision. She truly wants him back. But Orhan has already made up his mind. Even if he wanted to return, the news is already public. Going back now wouldn't change anything. Luna mentions the promise they once made to conquer the Great Labyrinth together, and that hits Orhan hard. He pulls his hand away and reminds her that promise was made by him, Luna, and Oliver, yet Oliver was the one who threw him out. There's no fixing that. The future he hoped for is gone. When Orhan reaches the meeting point, he hears the students whispering about the article. They're wondering why he never told them. Before anyone confronts him, Selma arrives and apologizes for hyping him up as a hero party member without knowing the truth. Orhan tells her it's fine, it's partly his fault for being vague. He reminds everyone that kicked out or not, he still reached the 94th floor and proved himself yesterday. One article doesn't erase that. Caroline and Sophia still trust him completely. Logan, however, looks doubtful. He asks Orhan if the article is true. Orhan admits it mostly is he was kicked out for being too weak. But weak, he explains, is a relative term. He assures them he's more than capable of getting them safely to the 51st floor. Logan doesn't seem convinced and quietly decides Orhan must be a fraud. They head back into the dungeon, aiming to reach the 35th floor by the end of the day. Until the 31st floor, Orhan isn't allowed to actively help, so he just observes. Thankfully, the rookies handle the lower floors well. Once they reach the 31st floor, Orhan finally steps in as leader and vanguard. Suddenly, he tells everyone to stop. He senses monsters ahead. Goblins appear, and Orhan orders Caroline to attack first. She rushes in, but quickly gets overwhelmed. Orhan is about to tell Logan to cast buffs, but Logan does it on his own, thinking Orhan isn't worth listening to if he's no longer a hero. Orhan notices but doesn't care. Instead, he turns his attention to Sophia, who's frozen in fear while facing an orc. She is still traumatized from a past near-death experience. Logan is about to intervene, thinking Orhan has failed as a teacher, when he realizes Orhan secretly cast an agility debuff on the orc. Orhan calmly reassures Sophia, reminding her she isn't alone anymore. With that confidence boost, she fires an advanced fire javelin and completely destroys the orc. Everyone is stunned, especially Orhan, who had no idea Sophia could use advanced magic. Caroline praises her, and Orhan congratulates her sincerely. Logan, meanwhile, is shaken. The timing, the hidden spell, the calm control, it makes no sense that someone like Orhan was kicked out of the hero party. The group reaches the 35th floor, only to be stopped by a giant tarantula. Logan panics, knowing they're outmatched. He's about to suggest retreating when Orhan calmly orders him to buff everyone instead. Caroline charges in without hesitation. Orhan directs her movements perfectly, keeping the spider focused on her while Sophia and Logan support from behind. The fight is dangerous, but every move Orhan makes is calculated. Even when Caroline is nearly dragged into the spider's jaws, Orhan has already prepared for it. With a final coordinated attack, the monster is defeated. Back on the surface, Orhan praises everyone for their performance. Tomorrow is the final push to the 51st floor, so Selma tells them to rest well. As Orhan leaves, two other supervisors invite him to dinner. He accepts, and they head to a tavern together. Meanwhile, on the ride home, Logan can't stop thinking about what he saw. He remembers Sophia once saying Orhan saved her from orcs. Curious, he asks her how Orhan fights. Sophia shrugs and says she doesn't remember much, only that when Orhan landed, there was a massive gust of wind, and moments later, the orcs were already gone. Logan can't help but overthink things. He assumes the spell Sophia mentioned must have been a sharpness enchantment, which is tricky because it works on weapons, not humans. On top of that, he's baffled that Orhan is swinging a sword when he's clearly a magic prodigy. Sophia admits she doesn't really know either, except she heard he recently converted to being an attacker. Logan is still bitter about Orhan being kicked out of the hero party, feeling betrayed, but he couldn't be more wrong. Orhan wasn't just a perfect supporter. He pulled off a tricky agility debuff on an orc, analyzed the battlefield flawlessly, gave precise orders, and even predicted the tarantula's final attack. In Logan's eyes, Orhan is leagues ahead of any enchanter he's ever seen. Switching to a sword? Madness. Caroline asks if he's at least strong with a sword. Sophia confirms he'd have failed against the orcs otherwise. Logan realizes Orhan is a genius with both magic and swordsmanship. He knows he can't surpass him, yet. Determined, Logan vows to learn everything he can from Orhan and someday match his strength. Meanwhile, Orhan enjoys dinner with the others at the tavern. The food is great, and the conversation lively. When asked about fun in the hero party, Orhan sighs he barely had any, stuck managing errands and busy work. That makes the useless article even more insulting. His companions defend him, which warms his heart. They ask why he switched from enchanter to swordsman. Orhan explains it was his dream. He trained with his grandfather and always wanted to be the best. Becoming an enchanter wasn't his choice. The party needed one as monsters grew stronger and Selma's influence spread. His role helped the party reach the 94th floor faster, but it was reckless rushing like that nearly cost them. The current hero party? They'd never survive past the 94th floor as they are. When asked what kind of swordsman he wants to be, Orhan smiles. A jack of all trades, strong enough to handle even lower floors alone. The others are amazed but confident he can pull it off. Meanwhile, the hero party heads into the dungeon the next day. Remember Orhan's warning about the 94th floor? Yeah, they're about to do something very, very stupid. The next morning, Orhan returns to the dungeon entrance for the final stretch of the expedition and is immediately greeted by the kids. Caroline gives Sophia a chance to talk to him. She casually mentions how nice it would be if they received a reward after finishing the expedition, then nudges Sophia to remind Orhan about officially joining their guild. But just as Sophia is about to speak, Selma suddenly calls Orhan over, forcing him to walk away. As Orhan heads towards Selma, he overhears students talking about the hero party attempting to reach the deepest part of the dungeon today. They're starting on the 92nd floor. Orhan freezes for a moment, completely shocked. He can't believe they'd do something so dangerous, especially after replacing him with a new member only a few days ago, without any real practice. He starts stressing about how badly this could go, then stops himself. Wait, this isn't my problem anymore. Meanwhile, the hero party arrives on the 92nd floor of the southern dungeon with their new recruit, Philly Carpenter. For some reason, they never bothered testing their teamwork first. But to be fair, Philly's resume is stacked. She was introduced 2 days ago and apparently reached the 100th floor of the western dungeon before. Naturally, they assume she'll make this run easy. Anneli and Derek are convinced Philly's support magic is far better than anything Orhan ever did, and they quickly spiral into complaining about how much they hated him. They're especially bitter because Orhan never let them throw expensive parties, despite the party having tons of money. Hearing this immediately raises red flags for Philly because without Orhan managing their finances, these two would have gone broke ages ago. Oliver cuts them off, saying today should be about welcoming Philly, not trash-talking Orhan. Right then, Luna storms in. She just found out Orhan joined the Silver Rabbits expedition and is shocked to learn the party already replaced him without even telling her. She asks why Orhan is with another guild now. Derek and Anneli can't believe Orhan managed to join such a high-profile group so quickly, but they don't care. He's gone. At first, Luna assumes Orhan left because the party was holding him back. But Derek proudly admits they kicked him out. Luna is speechless. She reminds them that Orhan was the backbone of the party, and without him, they never would have made it this far. The others refuse to accept that. Derek insists Orhan was just a useless enchanter anyway. Luna knows there's no chance of getting Orhan back now, so she clenches her teeth and stays quiet. The others take her silence as agreement. Then Oliver decides to make yet another terrible decision. He announces they'll test Philly's synergy right here on the 92nd floor, and if it goes well, they'll push to the 94th to break their record. Luna immediately objects because she prefers staying alive. She suggests testing Philly on a safer floor, like floor 30. They stare at her like she's speaking another language. Somehow, they don't understand how dangerous it is to train a new member on a floor they barely survived last time. Derek and Anneli admit it was close before, but insist Orhan was the reason it was difficult. With Philly, everything will be fine. Luna reminds them there's a black dragon on this floor, and she doesn't want to be turned into charcoal. Oliver shuts her down and says they're doing this whether she likes it or not. Honestly, she should have quit right there, but she still didn't want to give up on the party. As expected, everything goes wrong. They're fighting a giant mammoth, an enemy they normally wouldn't struggle with. But Oliver's sword does 0 damage. Derek can barely block attacks, and Anneli's fire magic looks like cheap fireworks. None of it makes sense. They thought Philly's buffs would make them stronger. Instead, they're weaker. Philly is struggling just to maintain her buffs and can't analyze the battlefield at all. That means decision-making is left to the group, and their record for good decisions is 0 for 3. Oliver finally realizes something is very wrong. They're much weaker than they thought. Luna, who's been standing off to the side watching this disaster unfold, is about to explain why. When a terrifying roar echoes through the floor, the black dragon arrives. It lands, instantly crushing the mammoth and knocking everyone flat. Luna screams for them to run, but Derek and Anneli, still missing several brain cells, think they can fight it. Oliver joins their delusion, claiming they beat it before. Yes, because Orhan was there. They still don't get it. Derek charges forward and tries to block a fireball. The moment it hits, he's sent flying and slams into the ground like a piece of burnt toast. And that's when reality finally hits literally. Luna rushes to heal Derek as Philly freezes in shock, questioning why she ever joined this party. Anneli throws a flaming javelin at the dragon and actually lands the hit, but it does absolutely nothing. The dragon doesn't even flinch. Worse, it locks onto Anneli and blasts her with a massive fireball, sending her flying unconscious. As chaos spreads, Oliver completely panics. Luna snaps at him to focus. They either escape now or die. Oliver agrees, but the dragon is already charging another attack, and both Derek and Anneli are down. Luna tells Oliver to buy time while she heals them. Oliver orders Philly to dump every buff she has on him and charges his ultimate attack. The clash is brutal. Oliver's strongest slash collides with the dragon's fireball and gets completely erased. Oliver is sent flying, his confidence shattered. If his best attack did nothing, they're finished. Luna coldly declares they have one option left: the Fickle Gate, an emergency item that teleports them to a random dungeon floor, always straight into the boss room. It's insanely dangerous, but staying means certain death. As Oliver activates the gate and they prepare to jump, the dragon blocks them with a wall of fire, then charges forward and gets sucked into the gate instead. Derek thinks they're safe, but Luna panics. The dragon has been sent to a random boss room, meaning beginner adventurers could now face a dragon because of them. They immediately decide to return to the guild and warn everyone. Using their guild card's emergency teleport will save lives, even though it means massive penalties. Just as Oliver prepares to leave, Luna reminds him that Derek and Anneli can't even walk yet. While healing them, Luna drops the truth. When they fight the dragon again, Philly must be replaced with Orhan. Oliver is shocked. Luna explains the real problem: they didn't get weaker. Orhan simply isn't there. Support spell power depends on the caster, but duration depends on the target's magic resistance, and Oliver's resistance is absurdly high. That means Philly's buffs only last about a minute on him. Orhan never had this issue because he constantly tracked spell timers. Even more shocking, he created original magic, something extremely rare. Though his base enchantments were weak, he invented a spell that boosted his spell power 50 times, far beyond even Selma's tenfold boost. Oliver's divine slash failed because he didn't charge it long enough. He'd grown lazy relying on Orhan's buffs. The same goes for Anneli, who used mid-tier spells because Orhan's enchantments made them effective. He even buffed their equipment, meaning their offense and defense fully depended on him. The party finally realizes how crucial Orhan was. Unfortunately, Oliver's ego quickly returns. He convinces himself that Orhan had nothing to do with their past victories, despite the flashback clearly proving otherwise. Today is the final day of the expedition. Orhan and his group will start on the 36th floor and push down to the 50th, where everyone will teleport out safely. On paper, it sounds simple, almost too simple. Orhan can't shake a bad feeling. The monsters ahead are far beyond what the recruits can handle alone. But with supervisors fighting alongside them, it should be fine. Still, something about the dungeon feels wrong. Before he can think it through, the kids excitedly call out to him, and he pushes his worries aside. Caroline constantly asks for combat tips, eager to kill as many monsters as possible. Orhan reminds her she's a defender, her job is to protect the team, not rush ahead. She complains that it's boring, but Logan backs Orhan up, saying even Albert used to give the same advice. The name hits Orhan hard. Albert Sensible, the legendary ace of the Silver Rabbit Guild, died last year fighting the Black Dragon on the 92nd floor. Caroline knows the story well. Albert died protecting a teammate, something a defender was supposed to prevent. That fear drives her to charge ahead, and Orhan can see the trauma in her eyes. He chooses not to address it and moves on. Soon, Sophia and Logan also ask Orhan for guidance, and not long after, the group enters the dungeon. During a break, Selma tells Orhan she's glad the kids have warmed up to him. He admits he worried they might judge him after the newspaper article, but they accepted him anyway. Selma talks about how devastating Albert's death was. Even after Orhan and the hero party defeated the Black Dragon, the fight was brutal. Albert didn't die because he was weak, just unlucky. Selma hints that the guild still hasn't found someone to replace him and subtly tries to recruit Orhan. He declines, saying one party doesn't need two enchanters. Still, since he's switching to swordsmanship, she believes he'd be invaluable. The mission begins, and Orhan's team is placed in Group 10 at the back of the formation. While it sounds bad, it actually means they're considered the most promising. Sophia feels nervous, but Orhan explains this is necessary. Training dungeons are unpredictable, and they need to survive on their own if separated. Logan agrees, though Caroline dislikes the idea of getting lost. Orhan stresses the importance of preparation, especially dungeon maps. Caroline asks him to share what he knows, since he's been deeper than all of them combined. He explains that the lower floors start around floor 76 and are usually ice or snow themed, while the deepest floors begin at 91. Before he can say more, the kids bombard him with questions. Back on the surface, Luna storms into the Adventurers Guild demanding to see the guild master. The receptionist, Eleanor, tells her he's in a meeting and she'll have to wait. Luna panics and insists there's no time, they must force teleport everyone out of the dungeon immediately. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Orhan's group senses something is off. They haven't seen a single monster in a long time. In a room this large, that shouldn't be possible. Orhan admits he's never seen anything like this. It feels as if the monsters are hiding, scared of something. Caroline grows impatient until she spots a lone goblin. Without thinking, she charges. Orhan yells for her to stop, warning that the goblin could one-shot her. She ignores him. Left with no choice, Orhan debuffs the goblin, giving Caroline just enough time to defeat it. She proudly announces her victory, only for the others to scold her for being reckless. If Orhan hadn't been there, she could have been killed, forcing Sophia and Logan to rush in and risk their lives. Caroline finally realizes her mistake and apologizes. As long as she's careful going forward, Orhan lets it slide. Since Caroline loves fighting so much, Orhan offers to teach her a technique called active defense. She lights up with excitement. Orhan explains that it's about drawing enemy attacks and keeping them busy while the rest of the team prepares a counter. Every creature has a brief preparation before attacking. If you interrupt that moment, you can temporarily lock them down, but it requires careful observation and perfect timing. Caroline thinks it sounds awesome. Orhan reminds her that the goal isn't to kill the enemy, it's to stall them until her teammates are ready. She agrees. Back on the surface, Luna finally meets the guild master and urgently tells him to force teleport everyone out of the dungeon immediately. He hesitates, teleporting that many people costs an insane amount of mana and can't be done unless it's a true emergency. But Luna insists, because it doesn't get much more serious than this. Luna reveals the real danger. The black dragon slipped through her unstable gate and is now wandering a random floor of the dungeon. If nothing is done, someone will eventually run into it. Time is running out, but guild rules still force the guild master to hold a discussion before activating a forced teleport. Back in the dungeon, Logan asks Orhen to teach him debuff magic, but Orhen refuses. Debuffs depend heavily on a target's magic resistance, meaning Logan would need deep mastery and knowledge of every monster. Worse, debuffs are mostly ineffective on deeper floors, making them impractical as a main skill. Instead, Orhen demonstrates a better tactic. When wolves charge the group, he waits as they trigger a trap he set earlier. He explains that controlling enemy movement and preventing ambushes is an enchanter's true role, not reckless spellcasting. Orhen then advises Sophia to learn parallel casting. Though her spells are powerful, they take time to activate. Parallel casting lets her begin a second spell before the first finishes, reducing downtime. It's difficult, but achievable with practice. Orhen suggests Selma teach her later, but Sophia asks Orhen instead. Caught off guard, he agrees. On the surface, the forced teleport is finally ready. The guild master prepares to evacuate everyone, then orders the hero party to return and defeat the black dragon. Tension fills the room. They know they can't win. Anelli tries to delay, but Luna cuts her off and accepts the mission, with one request. Meanwhile, Orhen's group reaches the floor boss room. The supervisors take over, and Orhen draws the troll's attention while the others prepare their attack. With his battlefield control, the boss falls quickly. Just as things seem stable, the hero party heads back into the dungeon. They question why Luna evacuated only floors 40 to 51st. Luna explains Orhen is likely there, and they'll need him to defeat the dragon. Back on the 50th floor, Orhen's team defeats the giant crab boss. The mission is complete, and Orhen finally relaxes. Then the air cracks, space shatters, and the black dragon appears. Everyone freezes. Selma and the other supervisors freeze in shock. Everyone knows how terrifying this black dragon is. Even Orhen has no clue how to beat it. Fighting it head-on is basically suicide. Their only real hope is to sneak past it and reach the teleport crystal. But that's easier said than done when everyone is too scared to even breathe. Normally, monsters attack big groups first. If Orhen ran away alone, he might actually survive. But leaving the kids behind was never an option. So instead, Orhen does the crazy thing. He charges straight at the dragon. He shouts for the other supervisors to protect the students at all costs. They snap out of their fear and form a defensive line just as the dragon launches a massive fireball at them. Even with a barrier up, everyone knows it shouldn't survive a blast like that. But at the very last second, Orhen secretly strengthens the barrier with a quick support spell. It happens so fast that only Selma notices. Now Orhen has bigger problems. He hurls a dagger at the dragon's eye. The dragon shuts its eyes just in time, exactly as Orhen planned. Using that opening, he leaps into the air and slams his sword into its neck with an explosion of force. The others are stunned. That single hit looked insanely powerful. But the dragon? Not even scratched. Seeing everyone panic, Orhen calmly says he has a plan. He puts on a strange necklace and charges again. When the dragon fires another blast, Orhen reflects it right back with a magic wall. Logan can't believe it. He's never even heard of a spell like that. That's because Orhen invented it himself. Sadly, even the dragon's own fire doesn't hurt it. So Orhen goes all out. He casts a boost spell that doubles all his abilities. Then he does it again, and again, and again, and again. Now his power is 32 times stronger. Selma is in complete shock. Normally spells don't stack, they just reset. But somehow, Orhen broke that rule. With this insane power-up, Orhen moves so fast that nobody can even see him properly. But his body can't handle it for long. He needs to end this fight fast. As he jumps toward the dragon, it swings its massive tail to knock him out of the air. But Orhen creates a floating platform under his feet and dodges it. And here's the crazy part that wasn't even a spell. It was his special ability, magical convergence. He can gather raw magic and turn it into solid objects, boost his movement, and shape it however he wants. Oliver has the same power, but he uses it to make his attacks stronger. Orhan stacks buffs onto his sword and strikes again. This time, he finally wounds the dragon. But the effort is catching up to him. Selma can see he's reaching his limit. The other supervisors are too weak to help, and even if Selma joined, she knows she wouldn't change much. For the first time in years, she feels real fear. Still shaking, she focuses on protecting the students so Orhan can keep fighting. And then a memory hits her. When Orhan was a kid, he used to play peacefully with Luna and Oliver in their village. Life was simple, until bandits burned everything to the ground. When Orhan and Oliver returned from training that day, they found their home destroyed and everyone they loved dead in the streets. They buried the bodies themselves. And that day, they made a promise. They would become strong enough to make sure no one they cared about ever died like that again. That's the promise Orhan has lived for. And there's no way a single dragon is breaking it. Suddenly, purple mist begins swirling around the dragon, a sign it's charging its strongest attack. Selma realizes what's happening. Just like Orhan's ability, the dragon is gathering massive energy for one final strike. The dragon finally releases all that gathered energy and suddenly, magical weapons appear in every direction. But Orhan notices something. Last time he fought a dragon like this, it created way more weapons than this. Which means one thing. The dragon is still underestimating him. So Orhan uses that to his advantage. As the weapons start firing, he dashes left and right, dodging everything like a blur. Then he throws a fireball to distract the dragon and rushes in for another strike. But this time, his blade barely scratches it. The extra energy has made the dragon's scales almost unbreakable. And it doesn't give Orhan a second to breathe. Mana blasts keep raining down non-stop. Orhan quickly raises a rock wall to block the attacks. But the dragon bends one of its spears around the wall, almost hitting him. For a split second, Orhan nearly dies. Luckily, he had already set up a reflective shield, saving himself at the last moment. Everyone watches in silence, barely breathing. But Selma knows the truth. Orhan is surviving, but he still hasn't landed a finishing blow. Fighting alone is way harder than he expected. Last time, his whole team handled different roles, blocking attacks, covering fire, and delivering the final strike. Now Orhan has to do everything himself. And quitting is not an option. So he switches tactics. Using the defensive techniques he taught Caroline, Orhan throws the dragon off balance while slowly pulling it farther away from the students. Once they're safely out of danger, Orhan unleashes a storm of fire blasts all at once. The dragon barely flinches, but that was part of the plan. Orhan had secretly modified the spells into magic traps that absorb energy from the air and keep exploding again and again, each time stronger than before. The non-stop blasts finally start wearing the dragon down. But after a while, it destroys all the magic circles. Still, Orhan isn't done. Last time, Oliver ended the dragon with a divine slash. So now Orhan uses his own version. When the dragon fires a blast at him, Orhan launches his divine slash straight through it, boosting it midair so it punches through with even more power. Boom! A huge piece of the dragon falls to the ground. Everyone thinks it's over. But nope. The dragon is still alive. Turns out it sacrificed its own tail to block the attack. And now it's angrier than ever. It fires even faster, forcing Orhan to keep dodging. But then his power boost timer runs out. His strength drops back to normal. Selma rushes to help and casts a buff on him. Orhan instantly cancels it. He tells her it won't be enough and to focus on protecting the kids. He's handling this himself. Then he boosts himself again, even stronger than before, and slams the dragon with a massive thunder strike. The blast launches the dragon straight out of the sky. It crashes into the ground. Everyone holds their breath. Did he finally win? Not yet. The dragon somehow survives again. Now Orhan is out of options. His sword can't take the pressure anymore, it shatters in his hands. But the dragon is barely standing too. One more hit will decide everything. So Orhan pulls out his final move. He drops the broken sword and casts his destruction spell, forming a massive black magic blade made from pure compressed power. A weapon stronger than anything they've seen before. For the final attack, Orhan doesn't rush in directly. He bounces off dozens of reflective walls across the battlefield, building insane speed. Then comes crashing down from above, and strikes the dragon with everything he has. This time it's over. Back on the surface, Orhan's former party rushes toward the dungeon just as the emergency teleport spell activates, pulling everyone inside back up above ground. But instead of entering the dungeon, they suddenly come face to face with a massive black dragon. Everyone panics until Luna quickly realizes the dragon is already dead. It must have been teleported along with the other adventurers. And beside its giant body, she spots Orhan, barely standing and leaning on his sword. His body looks completely wrecked, so Luna rushes to heal him. But Orhan stops her and casually says, "Don't worry about me. Just clean up the mess. I'm going home to sleep." That's when Luna notices something crazy. Orhan is the only one injured, which means he fought the dragon alone. Sounds impossible, and Dererick straight up refuses to believe it. No proof, no logic. Nothing can change his mind. Orhan knows arguing with an idiot is pointless, so he ignores him and walks away, which only makes Dererick angrier. That's when Luna snaps. She yells at Dererick and tells him the truth. He's a nobody without Orhan, and until he accepts that, he'll stay weak forever. That hits him hard. So hard, in fact, he charges at her in pure rage. Bad idea. Luna freezes him in place without even lifting a finger. She could have ended him right there, but Oliver steps in and tells them to stop. Even though it's obvious Orhan was never weak, Oliver still refuses to admit he was wrong. Later that day, everyone is writing mission reports. Sophia is excited to write about how insane Orhan was in battle. Meanwhile, Selma comes home completely exhausted and collapses on her bed. The next morning, Orhan wakes up feeling the after effects of overusing magic. Luckily, it's just body pain, nothing serious. Looking out the window, he spots Selma coming his way. They meet at a cafe, where Selma apologizes for bothering him and says she just wanted to make sure he was okay. She then formally thanks him for saving everyone and keeping the expedition casualty-free. After that, she invites Orhan to meet her clan leader. Once there, the leader doesn't waste time. He offers Orhan a spot in the Silver Rabbit clan as a frontline fighter in their strongest unit. Not only that, he'd instantly become a lieutenant. That's insane for someone his age. Orhan is flattered, but asks for time to think. The leader agrees. On his way out, Orhan is told the Adventurers Guild Master also wants to see him. As he walks there, he thinks about the offer. It's amazing, but he's scared things might end up just like his old team. And sadly, when he arrives, his old party is already there. The guild master brings up the report saying Orhan killed the black dragon. Orhan confirms it. But Dererick and Ellie immediately laugh and claim Orhan only got the last hit after they weakened it. The delusion is actually impressive. Orhan tells Dererick to shut up, and the guild master threatens to suspend him if he doesn't sit down. Then Orhan turns to Oliver and asks the real question. Why would he take a brand new enchanter to the 92nd floor on her first day? Did he seriously think it would be easy just because he'd been there before? And Orhan was right. Oliver had assumed getting a better enchanter would magically solve everything. Orhan isn't even mad about being kicked out anymore. What really angers him is that Oliver still doesn't understand how important an enchanter actually is. Oliver shouts back that of course he understands, that's why he replaced Orhan. But judging by his logic, he clearly learned nothing. It's now painfully clear to Orhan that Oliver has no idea what enchanters actually do. So Orhan breaks it down. He starts listing the magic resistance levels and buff timers for every single teammate, explaining that an enchanter has to track all of that while giving commands and watching enemy movements at the same time. Then he hits Oliver with one final question. Do you really think you could handle all that yourself? Of course, Oliver has no answer. Meanwhile, back at the Silver Rabbit clan, Logan, Sophia, and Caroline are walking through the halls talking about Orhan's future. They haven't heard from him since yesterday, but they all hope he joins the clan so they can spend more time together. At the same time, Selma is sitting alone in the garden, thinking about Orhan too. She wants him to join, but feels like she'd only slow him down. With the massive gap in their strength, she thinks she has nothing to offer him. A moment later, the kids run up and ask Selma if she knows where Orhan lives. When she asks why, they say they want to invite him to join the Silver Rabbits. Selma tries to stop them, saying they'd only hold him back. But the kids already know that. They admit it's selfish, but they want to learn from Orhan and grow strong enough to stand beside him as equals one day. Hearing that makes Selma realize something important. Even if she's weaker now, she can train and close the gap too. So instead of giving Orhan's address, she tells them he was just at the guild and they might catch him before he leaves. And sure enough, Orhan had just finished his meeting. His old party is getting punished for their reckless actions, and he's ready to head home. But suddenly he spots the kids running toward him, and instantly knows this is about to be annoying, so he turns and runs. His injuries slow him down, so he summons mana platforms, jumps onto the rooftops, and escapes like a ninja. After hiding in an old shop, the owner asks why he's running from children. Orhan admits he already decided to reject the clan offer and doesn't want to hurt their feelings. The old man smiles and tells him something important. He doesn't have to walk through life alone just because of his past. Those words stick with Orhan. That night, Orhan goes up to a hill to think. And soon after, Sophia shows up by coincidence. She thanks him properly for saving everyone, then asks him to join the Silver Rabbits. Before answering, Orhan asks what the clan means to her. Sophia says they taught her so much, gave her happy memories, and most importantly, it's where she belongs. That's when Orhan finally makes his choice. The next morning, he meets the clan leader and accepts the offer. Selma brings him his uniform, making it official. When everyone finds out, they rush over and welcome him warmly. And for the first time in a long while, Orhan smiles, saying he looks forward to working with them. Years ago, Orhan and Oliver used to train together non-stop. One day, during a duel, Oliver beat Orhan fair and square, or at least that's what it looked like. The adults watching were impressed. They immediately decided Oliver was the perfect candidate to carry out their big plans. But Oliver wasn't celebrating. He was furious. He knew Orhan was stronger than that. He accused him of holding back. Orhan just shrugged and said, "You got stronger, that's all." Oliver stormed off, frustrated. He couldn't prove it, but he knew Orhan had thrown the fight. And he was right. Orhan could have crushed him if he wanted to. A few minutes later, a girl named Sion walks up and tells Orhan he's terrible at pretending to lose. She knows he's hiding his real strength. Orhan admits the truth he is holding back. Not because he can't be stronger, but because if the adults find out how powerful he really is, they'll pile all their expectations on him. The problem? By stepping back, he accidentally pushed all that pressure onto Oliver instead, and that guilt eats at him. So he decides he'll support Oliver with everything he's got. Suddenly, Sion snaps at him. She tells him he doesn't have to carry everything alone. She reveals she has power similar to his. No matter what it takes, she'll grow strong enough to stand beside him so they can achieve their goal together. What goal? Well, that's the weird part. Orhan's memories of Sion are fuzzy, like pieces are missing. Something about their past isn't adding up. Meanwhile, in another part of the kingdom, the Grand Master of the guild gets an unexpected visitor, the guild master from the southern region. Annoyed but curious, the Grand Master asks what's going on. The answer shocks him. Someone just defeated a black dragon alone in the southern dungeon. That's not something you hear every day. At first, he assumes it must be Oliver. But no, it wasn't him. Now he's unsettled. The only other person who could possibly have that kind of power is Orhan, but that should be impossible. Orhan hasn't shown any strange changes. He hasn't returned to his old self, which makes it even stranger. If Orhan hasn't regained his former power, then how did someone that strong appear? The Grand Master orders the Southern Guild Master to keep a close eye on Orhan and report anything unusual immediately. At the same time, in the eastern region, a group has just wiped out several adventurers in a forest. One of the attackers? Xian. Since there won't be any strong fighters left in that area for a while, her party plans to move on. But suddenly, Xian senses someone nearby and demands they show themselves. It's a messenger from headquarters. He brings news. Someone powerful enough to kill a dragon has appeared in the south. Their mission is to investigate this person. If he becomes a threat, eliminate him. Based on the little information they have, Xian knows it can't be Oliver. But beyond that, she has no clue who it might be. Ideally, they'd recruit this dragon slayer, but if he's already sided with the church, they'll have no choice but to kill him. After dismissing the messenger, Xian tells her team they're heading to the southern Great Dungeon. Since the south belongs to the church, they'll have to move carefully and avoid attention. They also need to be cautious around this dragon slayer. They don't know how strong he really is. But that's exactly why Xian wants to see him herself. Because if someone in the south truly has the power to slay a dragon, then that person must have the same kind of power as her. And if that's true, she's the only one who can stop him. After all, Xian believes she has to carry out Orhan's will no matter what. She thinks he died when they were kids because she received a letter saying so. Now she's convinced the church was behind his death, and she's ready to make them pay sword first, questions later. Meanwhile, back in the south, Orhan is being praised for protecting the students during the dragon incident. Everyone already knows he's strong. They also recognize that he's smart, experienced, and incredibly efficient. Back when he was in the hero party, he practically handled all the management and operations by himself, fighting monsters and doing paperwork. That's talent. Because of all this, the clan leader formally suggests promoting Orhan to lieutenant. But a promotion like that needs approval from 2/3 of the current lieutenants. Just as they're about to vote, one lieutenant speaks up. He says Orhan is strong and capable, and they're happy to have him in the Silver Rabbit clan. But he asks one important question. Are you willing to risk your life for the clan? As a lieutenant, his decisions would affect many lives. Clan members are expected to put the clan above everything else, even themselves. Orhan understands the question, but he made a promise a long time ago, and he intends to keep it. That means he can't afford to die yet. So he says it clearly, he is not prepared to sacrifice his life for the Silver Rabbits. The room goes silent. The other lieutenants are shocked. If he isn't willing to give everything for the clan, then why is he even here? Orhan answers honestly. He doesn't care about the clan as an organization. He cares about the people in it. He joined because he wants to protect those he cares about. Just because he won't throw his life away doesn't mean he won't fight with everything he has. Surprisingly, that's good enough. The lieutenants agree to let him join as their newest lieutenant. After the meeting, Orhan walks through the halls with Selma. She's relieved everything worked out, though he definitely gave her a heart attack for a moment. Next, he's supposed to meet Unit 1, the team he'll now lead. But before that, a woman named Estella calls him over. Selma introduces her as the head of personnel management for the Silver Rabbits. Estella gets straight to the point. She wants Orhan to help train some new recruits. Orhan doesn't mind teaching, but he's worried about time. Managing Unit 1 and training newbies sounds like a lot. Selma reassures him. Life here isn't like the hero party. He won't be buried in paperwork, and they don't dive into dungeons non-stop for days. In fact, they have a rule no more than 3 days in a dungeon without a break. Orhan is honestly surprised. This place is kind of relaxed. With that settled, he agrees to teach the new arrivals. Finally, he meets Unit 1. They're excited to see the Dragon Slayer up close since they didn't get to talk to him during the mission. Meanwhile, Orhan didn't even realize they were there. Introductions begin. First up is Rain. She looks tiny, but she's actually 24 and insists Orhan treat her like a big sister. Then there's Lucretia, 18, Wilk, 20, the team's defender, and Selma, whom Orhan already knows. Once introductions wrap up, Wilk asks the obvious question, how did you defeat the Black Dragon? Selma says he doesn't have to answer, but Orhan decides his team should understand his abilities. He reveals he won using 2 original spells. The first, Impact, multiplies a weapon's effectiveness by 100 times an unheard of boost. The second amplifies all buffs cast on him by 32 times. The catch? It only works on himself, puts heavy strain on his body, and can't be maintained for long. The team then wonders why he doesn't just fill every role, like being the party's mage. That's when Orhan admits his limitation. No matter how hard he tries, he can only use mid-level magic. High-level spells are completely out of reach. For a moment, he worries they'll see him as lacking, so he quickly adds that his original spells make up for it. But they're not bothered. Instead, they ask if he has a special ability. He does, which excites Rain, since that means 3 members now have special abilities. When Orhan asks who the other 2 are, Selma smirks and says he'll find out during tomorrow's dungeon run. There's just one problem. His sword was destroyed fighting the dragon. The team panics. Forging a proper weapon takes time. But Orhan casually admits he usually just buys cheap, store-bought swords. Silence. The legendary dragon slayer using rusty bargain blades. Unacceptable. They drag him to the clan's blacksmith, Aaron, demanding a proper weapon. Aaron agrees, but says a sword worthy of Orhan requires rare materials from the lower dungeon floors, and he doesn't have any. Crisis avoided when Orhan casually mentions he has a stash of rare materials stored in his bracelet from his hero party days. So instead of a long resource arc, they're making the sword now. While all this is happening, Selma drops a new mission on the team. The adventure management team wants a bunch of noxious sheep pelts. Perfect excuse, she says, to practice teamwork on floor 86. Orhan is fired up. He wants to help them beat the hero party's record of reaching floor 94. Soon, they arrive on floor 86. Surprisingly, it looks almost peaceful for a dungeon. Nice scenery, deadly neighbors. Selma quickly reminds everyone not to relax. Sure, they're here for sheep, but this floor is packed with earth dragons. Danger could pop up anytime. And more importantly, this mission is really about testing how well they fight alongside Orhan. The plan is simple. Will and Orhan take the front. Rain blasts enemies from the back with magic. Lucretia handles healing. Selma stays in support, buffing everyone and calling the shots. Honestly, they all know Orhan could probably solo the entire floor, but Orhan insists on sticking to formation. He wants to learn how to fight as part of a real team. Right on cue, a fireball comes flying at them. Orhan jumps forward and throws up a barrier, blocking it. Earth Dragon. Problem is, they can't see it. Time for Luca's magic tracking. She follows the leftover magic like a magical bloodhound and quickly finds the dragon hiding in the bushes. She fires off a flare spell, exposing it. The dragon charges out, ready to throw hands or claws. Will rushes in first, eager to show Orhan what he can do. While Will tanks and blocks like a pro, Rain calmly prepares a spell in the back. A moment later, boom, dragon deleted. Orhan is impressed. Will's defense is top tier. Rain casts high-rank spells in half the normal time. Luca makes hiding completely pointless, and tying it all together is Selma's leadership. Then 2 more earth dragons show up. Perfect timing to fully integrate Orhan. He and Will move in, but Orhan suddenly senses something weird. He casually fires a stone bullet at a random patch of grass. Surprise. A camouflage turtle was hiding there. Good catch, because now they're surrounded. Selma reacts instantly. The turtle is slow, so Rain and Luca handle it. Will and Orhan take the dragons. In the middle of battle, Orhan suddenly hears Selma's voice in his head. He almost jumps out of his armor, but it's just her telepathy. She can communicate with her teammates from a distance. Orhan is amazed. Selma secretly beams with pride, but refocuses fast and gives him orders. She tells him to aim for the dragon's weak spot while Will distracts it. Orhan buffs himself, waits for the perfect opening, and unleashes an impact slash cleanly slicing off the dragon's heads. At the same time, Rain and Luca finish the turtle. Teamwork makes the dream work. As they move forward, Selma asks Orhan how it felt fighting with them. He smiles and says it was wonderful. It's been so long since he won a battle this easily. Back in the hero party, things were not exactly smooth. He had almost forgotten what good teammates felt like. Selma then asks if they're ready for floor 92. Orhan says honestly, yes, even without him, they have a real shot. The team lights up at the praise. Still, Selma stays cautious. She remembers how terrifying the dragon was before, and she doesn't want anyone getting hurt because of overconfidence. She asks Orhan to support them fully. He tells her there's no need to be formal, he already decided, he's giving Unit 1 everything he has. Clearing Floor 92 has always been their goal, and he promises nothing will go wrong. With the dragons handled, they finally focus on the actual reason they came, the noxious sheep. After gathering the pelts, everyone thanks Orhan for skinning them so efficiently. Without him, they'd probably still be there arguing about which end to cut. Mission complete. Dragons defeated. Sheep skinned. And just enough time left to head back to the surface for dinner. Orhan shrugs off all the praise. It's no big deal, he says. But since the mission is done, it's time for his official welcome party. The team thanks him for choosing them even though, after slaying that dragon, he could have joined any party he wanted. They promise to make sure he never regrets picking them. Orhan smiles and says there's no way he could regret being on their team. And that's when Lucer suddenly bursts into tears. She admits she was scared at first. Orhan is insanely strong, so she worried he might look down on her for being weaker. Turns out, she wasn't alone. Will and Rain felt the same way. They tease that Selma probably had it worst, though she was very interested in Orhan from the start. Suspiciously interested, so now they're all wondering, does Selma have a crush? Selma immediately denies it. As the leader, she was just making sure Orhan felt welcome. Totally professional. Absolutely not flustered. Except she's red as a tomato. Later, Orhan carries the passed-out Selma back to her room. Sophia, expecting Selma, panics when she hears Orhan's voice. Sophia wakes Selma and makes her get off him. After Orhan leaves, Sophia demands every detail. After learning everything, she lightly scolds Selma. That night, Orhan reviews the students' files and is shocked to discover that all of them have painful pasts. Caroline's story hitting him the hardest. The next day, Selma takes Orhan to the management division so he can officially begin his side job as a trainer. There he meets Estella and Carla, the caretaker responsible for looking after new clan members. Carla asks if he has read the kids' files, and when Orhan confirms he has, she feels relieved that she doesn't have to explain their histories again. When Orhan asks about training rules, Estella tells him there aren't any strict ones. He's free to teach however he wants using his experience as an adventurer. Since he still seems unsure where to start, Selma asks Estella to give him a goal. Estella suggests training the kids until they're strong enough to handle the dungeon's middle floors on their own. It's a tough target, but seeing their potential, Orhan agrees to try. On the way out, Selma stops Orhan to talk about Sophia. Sophia was born to a maid in the Claude family and was later adopted after her mother died. But she was still treated as an illegitimate child and badly mistreated. Selma tried protecting her, but after leaving to become an adventurer, Sophia's situation worsened. When Selma eventually returned and saw how bad things had become, she offered Sophia a way out and took her with her. That's why Selma cares so deeply about her now and asks Orhan to watch over her. Later, Orhan meets the kids, who are excited to have him as their teacher again, especially since they believe he defeated a dragon effortlessly. Orhan quickly corrects them, saying the fight was far from easy, and reminds them that if they want to become great adventurers, they might one day face the Black Dragon themselves. He then sets 2 rules. Always think for themselves in the field instead of blindly following routines, and never assume he's always right if they believe he's wrong. They should speak up. After that, he asks why they became adventurers. Sophia says she wants to be like Selma, free to go wherever she wants and discover what she wants in life. Logan says he wants money, explaining that his poor village pooled their savings to send him to the city, and he hopes to repay their kindness someday. Caroline quietly says she hunts monsters so people can stay happy because happy people don't hit her like before. Realizing the trauma behind her words, Orhan chooses not to push further and simply accepts her answer. Finally, he tells them to remember their goals because those goals will keep them moving forward when things get difficult. Then Sophia asks him the same question, why did he become an adventurer? Orhan answers honestly. His goal is to become strong enough so that he never loses anyone important to him again. A long time ago, he realized something painful. If you're weak, you can't protect anything. So he plans to keep getting stronger until no one can defeat him. He then tells the kids he won't treat them like fragile children. Training will be serious, and he expects them to give it their all. The kids eagerly agree. Before they leave, Orhan turns to Caroline and asks if she'd mind having a nickname. She doesn't really care, but asks why. Orhan explains that in emergencies, shouting Caroline takes too long, so he shortens her name to Carol, which she happily accepts. Hearing this, Logan and Sophia get jealous, so Orhan gives them nicknames Tulog and Sophie. With that settled, they begin their first training session in the dungeon. Orhan assigns Carol to fight a group of wolves. She charges in with her daggers, filled with killing intent, but her fighting style worries him. Instead of distracting enemies like someone in her role should, she recklessly tries to finish monsters herself, showing no concern for her own safety. After she kills one wolf, another sneaks up behind her. Orhan immediately steps in, blocks the attack, and kills it before it can harm her. When he warns her to stay aware of her surroundings, Carol calmly says she already knew the wolf was there and purposely acted defenseless to lure it closer. To prove injuries don't matter to her, Carol suddenly slices her own wrist while smiling. Orhan panics, but the wound instantly heals. She explains her special ability, powerful regeneration, which makes it nearly impossible for her to die. Injuries still hurt, but she's used to pain because of her past. Years ago, the Cyclamen Church captured her for this ability and imprisoned her, planning to use her body to resurrect the evil demon. They conducted hundreds of brutal experiments on her. Although she survived thanks to her regeneration, the trauma shattered her mind. After rehabilitation, she recovered enough to live normally, but she still avoids confronting that pain. Orhan refuses to ignore her unhealthy mindset. He points out Logan and Sophia, who look worried. Carol thought hurting herself while protecting others would make them happy, but Orhan explains the truth: they hate seeing her suffer. Even if her wounds heal, the pain is real, and it hurts her friends to watch. Realizing this, Carol panics and asks what she should do. Orhan gives a simple answer: stop intentionally hurting yourself. She immediately apologizes repeatedly and instinctively backs away, begging him not to hit her because mistakes used to be punished with beatings when she was imprisoned. Instead, Orhan gently hugs her and promises no one will hurt her anymore. Now that she can't rely on healing, Carol admits she never learned how to dodge attacks. So Orhan places her in a training simulation that forces her to evade attacks from every direction. Meanwhile, Logan trains with a spear. Even though he's an enchanter, Orhan wants him capable of fighting in multiple roles. Sophia's training is mental. She must count backward from 1000 by 7s, maintain 2 magic circles, and cast spells whenever Orhan calls them out. The goal is to train her mind to handle multiple magical tasks at once. Overwhelmed, Sophia eventually panics and accidentally releases a burst of raw magical power that knocks down a target without casting a spell or forming a magic circle. Intrigued, Orhan suspects she may be developing a special ability, especially since she's related to Soma. After several days of training, their progress becomes clear. Carol can now dodge attacks from all directions, Logan has become skilled with his spear, and Sophia can manage multiple magical tasks far better. Together, they're strong enough to clear the 20th floor of the dungeon on their own, though they still have a long road ahead to become great adventurers. Right then, Orhan is called away. The blacksmith has finished forging his custom sword. The moment he swings it, he knows it's perfect. Thanking the blacksmith, he vows to use the blade to protect everything and everyone he cares about. Orhan decides to test his brand new sword in real combat, and the moment he swings it, he can feel how incredible it is. The blade moves smoothly and hits with tremendous force, proving why Alan is considered the best blacksmith in the Silver Rabbits. The others point out that the sword should naturally be powerful since it's forged from a dragon scale. However, Rain recalls Alan mentioning that he also mixed in turtle blood during the forging process, something that would normally lower the blade's purity and durability. Orhan calmly explains that the idea was actually his. While it does weaken the sword slightly, it doesn't matter much to him because he can easily enhance the weapon with his magic whenever needed. When asked if he's named the sword, Orhan proudly reveals its name, Black Rabbit. The others are confused by the unfamiliar word, so he explains that the blade is black and he belongs to the Silver Rabbits, making the name a perfect fit. With his new weapon ready, the team prepares to continue clearing the dungeon. Selma asks if he's free the next day so they can push toward floor 92, but Orhan refuses because he already promised the kids he'd take them dungeon diving. Selma worries he might be overworking himself, yet Orhan assures her he'll only supervise, believing the kids are already strong enough to handle floor 29 on their own. Selma is impressed by their growth and explains that once a rookie team clears floor 30 independently, they're officially recognized as professional adventurers. Later, while relaxing at his old man's house, Gramps brings up a troubling rumor. The moment he mentions Amonth, Orhan's expression changes. Amonth is a notorious group known for hunting and killing adventurers, recently appearing in the southern region and rivaling the Sichleman Church as one of the largest criminal organizations. Orhan hopes it's just gossip, but Gramps reveals that several high-ranking adventurers were recently killed, suggesting the guild is hiding the news to prevent panic. Unable to understand the group's motives, Orhan decides to drop the subject and tells Gramps he wants to craft something. Meanwhile, Rain stands in her room before a small memorial she made for Albert using his blood-stained clothes. She quietly says that in 3 days they'll face the Black Dragon again and hopes Albert will be cheering them on from heaven. Elsewhere, Will finishes tuning his weapon for the upcoming battle. Determined to change, he vows not to run away again. Alan notices the fire in his eyes and praises how much stronger he's become, remembering that the old Will would have fled long ago. But Will knows the truth. His cowardice during their last fight with the Black Dragon led to Albert's death. It's a mistake he refuses to repeat. That night, Selma gazes at the sky while Sophia approaches her. Both know the plan: reach the 92nd floor in 3 days. Sophia admits she's scared because the last attempt cost Selma's team a member. And even when Orhan fought a dragon alone, he barely survived. There's no guarantee everyone will return alive. Though afraid of losing Selma, Sophia understands her resolve and can only wish her luck. The next day, Orhan keeps his promise and takes the kids into the dungeon. To his surprise, they manage to clear the floor almost entirely on their own. Excited by their progress, they proudly say it's all thanks to Orhan's training. Now only one challenge remains: clearing floor 30. If they succeed, they'll officially become professional adventurers. But Sophia quietly realizes something painful. Once they become professionals, they won't need Orhan as their teacher anymore, meaning she won't get to see him as often. She hates the thought but keeps it to herself. After leaving the dungeon, Orhan takes them to Estella's office to apply for the floor 30 exam. Estella says an observer can come watch their test in 2 days. The kids don't understand the purpose, so she explains the observer simply confirms that rookies clear the floor without outside help. However, the timing is terrible. In 2 days, Orhan and Unit 1 are scheduled to begin their 92 ND floor mission. Orhan offers to postpone his mission, but the kids refuse. Logan says if they want to become real adventurers, they can't rely on Orhan forever. They must prove they can handle things themselves. Orhan agrees, but on one condition: they must show him their full strategy first. After reviewing their plan, he approves and gives them 3 custom necklaces he made as good luck charms. Soon the mission day arrives. Orhan and Unit 1 prepare to attack the 92nd floor, while the kids arrive with their observer for their own exam. They wave goodbye before heading toward their separate challenges. On floor 30, Logan suddenly hears footsteps, monsters approaching. Sophia quickly forms a plan. Caroline distracts, while Logan and Sophia attack. When the goblins appear, the plan works perfectly. Caroline dodges and distracts them while Logan casts Rock Needle, instantly killing 3 goblins. Sophia finishes the last with Wind Cutter. The observer is shocked by their teamwork, and the kids proudly say it's thanks to their teacher. Meanwhile, Orhan and his party reach the 92 ND floor boss room, where a dragon immediately attacks. Selma buffs Will, Orhan boosts his strength 4 times, and both warriors charge the dragon. At the same time, the kids reach the floor 30 boss room, but another adventuring party is already there. According to dungeon rules, it's first come, first serve. Since today is crucial, Logan politely asks if his group can fight the boss instead. But when he mentions he's from the Silver Rabbits, he instantly regrets it. The group looks shady, and the name catches their attention because they're hunting a dragon slayer from that clan. They ask Logan if he knows who it is. Logan senses danger and refuses to answer. But one of them, Zuriel, has an ability that extracts information from minds. In seconds, he learns the truth. Logan knows the dragon slayer and it's Orhan, so they decide to use the kids as bait. The observer steps forward to protect them, but before he can react, his head is sliced off instantly. The kids panic and try to run, realizing they stand no chance. But the enemies were prepared. One seals every exit with earth magic, trapping them inside. With no escape left, Caroline tells the others to break through the rocks while she distracts the strongest enemy. She charges forward, and is smashed into the wall so hard it leaves a massive crater. The attackers calmly tell the kids to surrender. Their teacher isn't there. The observer is dead. Caroline is badly injured. Every exit is sealed. With no hope left, the kids cling to the good luck necklaces Orhan gave them and pray. Meanwhile, Orhan's battle with the dragon is going well. But suddenly, his necklace begins to glow. Orhan instantly realizes the truth. He made those necklaces as warning devices. If they glow, it means the kids are in serious danger. They need him right now. But he's in the middle of a dragon boss fight. The dragon is already wounded, yet finishing it will still take time. Time the kids don't have. And then things get even worse. The dragon suddenly starts regenerating, healing every wound. All their progress is erased, which means killing it will now take even longer, while the kids remain trapped in the dungeon, surrounded by cold-blooded killers.